We've all been there, haven't we? You glance over at a cherished houseplant or maybe a favorite pot in the garden, and your heart just sinks a little. Those leaves, once vibrant and full of life, are now drooping sadly. They might be turning a concerning shade of yellow or developing those crispy, brown edges that crumble at the slightest touch. It feels like, despite your best efforts, your green friend is giving up. You might have watered it just yesterday, yet it looks desperately thirsty. This is a common story, one that can make even the most enthusiastic gardener feel a bit like a failure. But please, don't despair. These are simply cries for help, not a final farewell. Another common sign of trouble is when the soil itself seems to have given up. You might notice that when you pour water onto the surface, it rushes straight through the pot and out of the drainage holes, or perhaps it pools on top, refusing to sink in at all. The soil may have pulled away from the sides of the container, leaving a noticeable gap. This is a clear indication that something is amiss beneath the surface, where the most important work is happening. The plant's foundation, its very life support system, is struggling to function properly, and it needs a helping hand to get back on track. The sight of stunted growth can also be disheartening. A plant that was once pushing out new leaves with vigor now seems stuck in time. New shoots fail to appear, and any buds that had formed may wither and drop before they have a chance to flower. You may even notice that the entire plant feels loose in its pot, a sign that the root system is shrinking and losing its anchor. These symptoms are all interconnected, painting a picture of a plant that is running on empty. It is not getting the essential water and nutrients it needs to thrive, and it is using all its remaining energy just to survive another day. It is important to remember that these signs are not a death sentence. Far from it, they are simply the plant's way of communicating with you, telling you that its current conditions are not quite right. Think of yourself not as a failed gardener but as a plant doctor about to make a diagnosis. The drooping leaves, the stubborn soil, and the lack of new growth are all clues. By learning to read these signals, you can understand the root of the problem and, more importantly, you can learn a wonderfully simple and effective technique to bring your plant back from the brink and restore it to its former glory. Many gardeners believe the problem is simple. They are either overwatering or underwatering. While that can be true, the real issue often lies deeper, hidden from view within the pot. The true culprit is often something called hydrophobic soil. This happens when potting compost becomes so utterly dry that it actually starts to repel water instead of absorbing it. It is a strange paradox, isn't it? The very medium that is supposed to hold moisture for your plant begins to actively push it away. This is especially common in peat-based composts and in plants that have been allowed to dry out completely just once or twice. When soil becomes hydrophobic, your watering routine becomes ineffective. You can pour water onto the surface, and it will simply find the quickest path of least resistance. It will run down the inside edge of the pot, between the hardened soil and the container wall, and straight out of the drainage hole at the bottom. To you, it looks like you have watered the plant thoroughly, but in reality, the central root ball, where the fine roots responsible for absorbing water are concentrated, remains bone dry. The plant is, in effect, dying of thirst in a pool of water. It is a frustrating situation, but one that is easily fixed once you understand it. This deep-seated dehydration at the core of the root ball is what causes all those symptoms we see on the surface. The plant's roots are unable to draw up the water they desperately need, so the leaves begin to wilt and turn yellow as the plant conserves its limited resources. It cannot support new growth because it lacks the fundamental building blocks of water and nutrients. Over time, the fine, delicate roots will begin to shrivel and die back, weakening the plant's entire structure. This is why simply giving it another splash of water from the top often does nothing to improve the situation. So, the challenge is not just to give the plant water, but to make the soil receptive to water once more. We need to break that cycle of water repellency and allow the compost to become a sponge again. We need to ensure that moisture can penetrate deep into the heart of the root ball, rehydrating those thirsty roots and giving the plant a real, life-saving drink. This is where a simple but powerful technique comes into play. It does not require expensive tools or potions, just a bucket, some water, and a little bit of patience. It is time to learn about the deep rehydration soak. The solution to this problem of deep-rooted dryness is wonderfully straightforward. We call it the deep rehydration soak, or simply bottom watering on a grand scale. The principle is to submerge the entire pot in water for an extended period. Instead of trying to force water down from the top through resistant soil, we allow the soil to draw it up slowly from the bottom, just as nature intended. This method uses the power of capillary action, letting the bone-dry soil and roots wick up moisture at their own pace, until they are completely and thoroughly saturated. It is a gentle, patient, and incredibly effective way to revive a struggling plant. This technique works because it directly tackles the hydrophobic nature of the soil. When the pot is submerged, water surrounds the entire root ball. It seeps in slowly from the drainage holes at the bottom and gradually works its way upwards and inwards. There is no escape route for the water. It cannot just run down the sides. The soil has no choice but to start absorbing the moisture. This slow, steady process gives the hardened, compacted soil particles time to expand and soften, breaking their water-repellent state and turning them back into the absorbent, life-sustaining medium they are meant to be. To make this revival soak even more potent, you can add a simple, natural booster to the water. One of my favorites is a spoonful of unsulfured molasses. Why molasses? It is rich in carbon, potassium, and various micronutrients that feed the beneficial microbes in the soil. Waking up these microbes helps to improve the soil structure and makes nutrients more available to the plant's recovering roots. It is like giving your plant not just a drink of water, but a nutritious, revitalizing meal at the same time. This little addition can give the plant the extra energy boost it needs to kickstart its recovery process. The deep soak is more than just a watering method, it is a reset button for your plant. It guarantees that every single part of the root system gets the hydration it needs, leaving no dry pockets behind. It flushes out excess mineral salts that may have built up in the soil from past fertilizing, which can also inhibit water uptake. This simple act of submerging a pot in a bucket of water is one of the most powerful tools in a gardener's arsenal. It is a trick that can turn despair into hope and bring a seemingly lifeless plant back to a state of health and vigor. Let's get our hands dirty and walk through this simple process. First, you will need a few basic items. Find a bucket, a tub, or even a clean sink that is deep enough to allow the plant's entire pot to be submerged. You will, of course, need your struggling plant. And finally, you will need water. Tepid or room temperature water is best, as water that is too cold can shock the plant's sensitive roots. If you wish to give your plant an extra boost, now is the time to grab that jar of unsulfured molasses from your kitchen cupboard. 1 tablespoon per gallon of water is a good measure. Now, prepare the revival bath. Fill your bucket or tub with the tepid water. If you are using the molasses, add it to the water now and give it a good stir to ensure it dissolves completely. This creates a nutrient-rich solution for your plant to soak in. Before you place your plant in the water, take a moment to gently remove any leaves that are completely dead, yellow or brown. They will not recover, and snipping them off allows the plant to direct all its energy towards healing and producing new, healthy growth. Be gentle, do not pull them off if they resist. Carefully lower the entire pot into the bucket of water. You will likely see a rush of air bubbles escaping from the soil. This is a fantastic sign. It shows that the dry pockets within the soil are being filled with water. The pot might be buoyant at first, so you may need to hold it down gently or place a small weight on top to keep it submerged. Now comes the most important part. Patience. Leave the plant to soak for at least 1 hour. For severely dehydrated plants, you can leave them for several hours, or even overnight. The plant will only absorb as much water as it needs. After the soaking period, lift the pot out of the water and place it on a tray or in an empty sink to allow all the excess water to drain away freely. This is a crucial step. We want the soil to be saturated, not waterlogged. While it is draining, you can gently slide the plant out of its pot to inspect the roots. Trim away any that are black, mushy, or papery, and dry. Healthy roots should look firm and be whitish or light tan in color. Once it has finished dripping, your plant's revival treatment is complete and it is ready for its recovery phase. After its intensive care soak, your plant will need a gentle and stable environment to recover. Do not place it back in bright, direct sunlight immediately. Strong sun can be stressful for a recovering plant and can cause its freshly watered leaves to lose moisture too quickly. Instead, find a spot that receives bright, but indirect, light. A north-facing window or a few feet back from a sunnier window is ideal. You should also protect it from drafts, either from open windows or heating vents, as fluctuating temperatures can add unnecessary stress. The goal is to provide a calm, consistent environment where it can focus its energy on healing. Knowing when to water next is key. Do not fall back into a rigid watering schedule. After its deep soak, the soil will be thoroughly moist. It may not need watering again for a week or even longer, depending on the plant and its environment. The best way to check is to use your finger. Push your index finger about an inch or two into the soil. If it feels damp, wait. Only water again when the top layer of soil feels dry to the touch. This simple test prevents the opposite problem of overwatering, which can be just as damaging by drowning the recovering roots and inviting rot. A few days after the deep soak, once the plant has had some time to settle, you can give it an extra healing boost with a wonderfully simple natural treatment. Take a fresh aloe vera leaf, slice it open, and scoop out about a tablespoon of the clear gel. Mix this gel thoroughly into a liter of water until it dissolves. Use this aloe-infused water for its next watering. Aloe vera contains natural compounds that can stimulate root growth and help the plant heal from the stress it has endured. It is a gentle, natural tonic that provides a little extra support on the road to recovery. Please remember, this simple trick of deep rehydration is remarkably effective. So many plants that are thrown away because they look dead are simply in a state of deep dehydration and can be brought back to life with this method. Do not give up on your drooping, yellowing friend too soon. With a bucket of water, a bit of patience, and a little understanding of what is happening beneath the soil, you have the power to perform a small miracle. Anyone can do this. You can be the gardener who brings a plant back from the brink, and there is no greater satisfaction than that.